emergency vehicle when they're stuck at their houses. It's $429. Do you have 430?
I got 429.
Me too.
I always went by Albany time, which was that clock.
That's just because I don't want to climb my fat ass up there and correct it. Every time I stand on that chair, I think I'm going to die. Boy, and that's the longest 429 I've ever seen.
That's like getting out of work at the end of the day, or getting out of school.
Waiting for the time clock to
The hand
change.
goes backwards.
4:30. 4:30.
You sure?
Okay, we're going, we're on. All right, we're in. Would like to call to order the Albany Board of Selectmen's meeting for May 8th, 2024. Please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Approval of the April 24th, 2024 Selectmen's meeting minutes. Includes one set of non-public minutes and two sets of sealed non-public minutes.
So.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Approval of the May 8th, 2024 consent file. Review and sign manifest in the amount of wow.
$2,598.
You got it all together, it looks like a trillion.
That looks like a national debt.
Well, my glasses don't pick up commas. $2,598.60, $5,303.69, and $46,236.25. This includes an accounts payable and payroll manifest for 4/30, 4 and 5/1 and 5/8 of 2024. Review, discuss, and approve or deny residential building permit for single-family home with two-car garage at MAP 9, Lot 139. Review, discuss, and approve, deny residential building permit for repair or replace a bunkhouse at 46 Johnson Road, MAP 11, Lot 29. I'll make a motion to approve.
For discussion?
For discussion, yes. Do I have a second? For discussion?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay. All right, Rick, you want to talk to it?
I don't have a problem with the review of manifests. I don't have a problem with the first building permit. I studied that and it all looks in order. The second building permit there, I'd like to amend your motion to table that building permit until we get more information and possibly a meeting with the owner of the property.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Well, we should
You want
discuss
to
the
talk some more
amendment.
about it?
Well, you need,
If you want to give your reasons, yeah.
well, it just jumps out at me. There is some real discrepancies here, and I don't have a warm fuzzy feeling about this. Checking his property card, I find that he has a second, besides the original, I guess, house or camp on the property. He was in 2020, I believe, for a building permit for a shed on the property. That shed has turned out to be an actual living camp, complete with bathroom, bedrooms, and et cetera.
It's got a porch.
And it's even got a
screen
porch
door.
with a chair out in front, and that kind of to me, that's kind of not a
Jason?
shed.
Jason come across this?
No, I kind of discovered, well, so I pinged the building permit administrator because after I looked at the plot plan, the bunkhouse appeared to be too close to the property line for the US Forest Service. So then when I started questioning the bunkhouse, so then the building permit administrator said, I agree, and I said, well, if you sign off on the building permit for now, I'll take it to the Board of Selectmen, they'll deal with the enforcement of if the bunkhouse is too close. So, the building permit administrator had me call the owner and ask about the bunkhouse. Is it too close to the property line as it appears? And he says, yes, the bunkhouse is too close, but it was built in the 50s, which makes it a pre-existing non-conforming. Well, then when I went back to 2020 to pull the building permits to look at what he actually applied for, to see what he submitted then for the bunkhouse, because his thing is, you already approved this once, why aren't you just approving it? And I said, because we have a new building permit administrator and we have, a pretty much new board. So then when I went back and looked at the building permits, I happened to pull the building permit for the shed. And the shed is supposed to be a 16 by 24, replace an existing shed on an existing platform. But when I pull the cards, that cabin that he built in 2020, or that shed that he replaced in 2020 is clearly a cabin. And Jason picked it up with a bathroom
They're not
and...
very pictures, but you can get the gist of it.
So this is a 16 by 24 cabin that was supposed to be the shed. So basically, it appears that some fraud was perpetrated in 2020.
Yep.
So now we come to the bunkhouse, which is existing, and Jason agrees that it's been there probably since the 50s, which predates our zoning. But that's only in here, it's like an L-shaped bunkhouse, and it's in here as two separate sheds, a 14 by 8 and a 13 by 8. If he's going to, it's in our assessing as sheds because they're not in very good shape. But if he spent this kind of money building a shed, what's he gonna build in the place of these two sheds for a bunkhouse?
Well-
And, oh, by the way, this property is 1.49 acres, so you should not have 3 houses on this property. So there's some questions for the owner. I don't know.
Well, the other thing that jumped up at me when I looked at the permit is if you look at the current permit, it's for a 2-story. And I never seen a 2-story shed. And the original permit that he applied for, a year ago that's expired, that was only applied for a single story.
So according to the assessment card, it's always been a 1+ story. And Jason said it is more than 1 story.
Yeah, but is that because there's a peak on it and there's a half of?
He says it's a story and a half, that it could be livable up there. But it shouldn't.
It's a shed.
It was a shed, even if it was a bunkhouse in the 50s. And the bigger thing that we have to stand on is that the building permit in 2020 was for replace existing 16 by 24 shed on existing foundation. And this is not a shed.
And it's not on a foundation, that's on poles. What do you call the poles that you sink into the ground?
Sonotubes.
Piers.
Piers?
And even on the plot plan he did, it's a 16 by 24 shed, and this is not a shed.
That's not a shed, that's a pretty glamorous shed. No, something's fishy about it, and I think we need to, I would recommend that we consult town attorney and find out what our legal obligations are. I mean, I'm a believer in property owner rights and all that type of stuff, but we also, as selectmen, have to watch out for abutting neighbors and neighbors in the neighborhood's rights also. I mean, that's our job. And with that said, this is what I would recommend, is tabling this, maybe getting this gentleman to come in and explain to us what his motives are.
And how we got from, how we got from the
Well,
last
yeah,
application,
I
of
mean,
what he's
it-
got
it-
now, and,
Yeah, I mean, I scratch my head and I'm going, I mean, one thing jumped out and I'm going, so I read it again and
So he can't even permit that. He can't come in and say, well, I'll get a permit and
I would have.
make it all good.
So here's
He
what
can't
I-
make it good.
What I would say is he might have been able to get a permit for the bunkhouse if he hadn't lied to us and
Right.
told us he was building a shed and built a cabin.
yeah.
So somehow that has to be rectified.
well, also his current building permit, it's to repair
Or replace.
/ replace bunkhouse.
Right.
Now, if it's a bunkhouse, bunkhouse to me is a living quarters.
Right.
What is public safety concerns about a bunkhouse? How many people is it gonna hold? Okay, is there any sanitation? Or are they gonna be crapping out in the Forest Service land out?
So they've got an
Across the border.
outhouse, which they've always had an outhouse, that's been on the card too, but this shed that's now a cabin has a bathroom.
Well, yeah, well,
Confused on how you have an outhouse,
Well, I was
you're
talking
saying
ab-
that's the only septic you've got, but somehow this wound up with a bathroom. So I don't know if they I don't know if this shed also wound up with a holding tank.
It-
We don't know.
and maybe we need to get DES involved in this as well. That's my
I think it's,
recommendation.
so it's also in the floodplain.
It's also along the Swift River,
So I think that, you know,
and it abuts Forest Service land, and maybe we need to contact them as well.
I just think
We need some guidance
it
from,
appears that he's only owned the property for 3 years. It started during COVID. It appears he's building some kind of compound out there. And I think that it's in your best interest to figure out what exactly he's done and what he's doing, and then what you as the town want to allow.
Well, that's why I'm asking if it can't even be permitted, because if you can't get a legal permit for it, it's gotta be removed.
Well,
Right.
but if he's got take away the shed, the bunkhouse is on a foundation, it's been there for 50 years, it's non-conforming, he should have the right to
The
rebuild it.
bunkhouse can be fine.
And fix
It's
that.
this one that's.
But the
problem.
other stuff is,
Yeah, and if that can't
but,
be.
you know,
if it's not-
is his intent to build a bunkhouse into a 2-story camp?
So maybe,
Like he did the first time around?
So maybe what happens is you get him in here and you have a conversation with him and you say to him, look you already built a cabin where there should have been a shed. So you can give up the permit request for the bunkhouse and we'll forgive the
That's what I'm
cabin.
saying, what to make it
But
good.
but strictly speaking, if he wants to follow up on the bunkhouse, that's the pre-existing non-conforming, he should have been allowed to do that, but then you might have to cease and desist him and make him tear down the cabin.
Right,
yeah.
Well,
Or turn it into a true shed.
let's get
council,
let's get some
I
guidance.
agree with, I don't think we need to get the whole state involved, let's just take care of this. Okay, so he tried to go around something, whatever it was. How do we make it right? It just,
Well, the only
I mean,
thing
we're
I
not gonna-
caution you on not telling DES about this is that if one of those neighbors winds up with sewage in their well,
Right.
after we knew about the fact and we didn't notify DES, because they're the arbiter of septic systems, then we could have some onus put back on, some liability put back on us, because now we're aware of the fact that there appears to be bathrooms and
Yep, I would get DES involved in this to get some guidance.
And they may not do anything. They're very busy. They
well,
don't
that's what I'm
have,
thinking. I
they
mean,
don't have inspectors for,
Well,
you know,
if
very.
we're gonna shut it down, we're gonna shut it down. DES isn't gonna shut anything down, they're gonna tell us.
well, yeah, but at least we did our due diligence and covered our tails with regards to the town. If they decide not to do anything, that's fine. That takes our liability off our shoulders.
Yeah, we can't approve septic. They can.
Right.
And they might order him to put a septic system
And
in.
we can't know people have done it and not deal with it.
And if you just let this slide by, what's it say to everybody else in
Exactly.
town that's done the right thing?
Yep.
Yeah, we've had a lot of inquiries about tiny houses, you know, just because
Oh,
of,
yeah.
because of housing and, you know, people want more living space on their properties and we've been you know, when people ask, we say yay or nay, if they're allowed to do it or not, and I think this is a situation where we're now being made aware of it, it's kind of hard to put that genie back in the bottle.
So we're gonna notify DES that there's a camp and there might be storage.
Just ask them to come out and take a look at it, because there's,
Well, tell
it
them to
says it has
advise us.
bathrooms. Jason's card says holding tank, question mark, because he doesn't really know.
Yeah.
And then there is an outhouse, that's drawn in on the building permit. So I mean, whatever it is, outhouses are allowed if they were there before and the health officer has looked at them. You know, under certain conditions, you can still do outhouses, but
When did that stop?
We can still.
I'm just thinking of a different property.
I don't think you can do any new ones, but if you had one and it's grandfathered and the health like Joe Ferris, when he was the health officer, went out on a couple. There was one in Hurley Corner that you guys sold as a tax deeded property for like
Yes, that's what I'm
$500 or
thinking of.
$2,000, and then he
Yes.
built a house.
Yes,
But there was an existing outhouse there, and Joe went out and looked, and yes, it was pre-existing, and as long as it's the same and it meets the current code, then he
there's a lot
had.
of work done there last year also.
I think they went and got a
They did?
septic. I think they got an approved septic now. Yeah, because that house is now a house,
Yeah.
but I'd have to look for sure.
How do you do, how do we allow that to happen when it's not even a conforming lot?
Because there was an existing
So there's a listing.
camp,
There was an existing camp on the property, and they just
and
built,
he built it in the same
he did the same
footprint.
footprint.
I think he went up. And there was an existing outhouse, and I believe Joe talked to the state, because I was leery about this. But he talked to the state about it, and they told him that if it was existing and it was the way it's supposed to be, then he needed to approve it.
Yeah.
Basically, but he's supposed to be, the health officer is supposed to be notified and inspect them.
Right.
I don't know, I'm not aware that this one has been inspected, certainly not since that cabin got built. So there's Selectman Highland made a motion to amend the motion for approval of the consent file with an approval of the manifest and the map 9 lot 139 building permit, and tabling the 46 Johnson Road building permit until such time as the town can meet with the owner.
Owner and get further information from town council and DES.
In the meantime, while all that's happening, he still gets use of the property. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Or we hit him with it right now saying this is an illegal structure and.
Let's get
Okay.
some guidance.
I get the guidance from the attorney before we wait for DES, and that's what I'm thinking. Let's get a quick, yes, this is what we should do, and then we can move forward with, but we're not gonna wait for DES to go look. That's-
Well, I would at least notify DES that we need their assistance with something. And that's,
All right,
So
still
now
need to
you
vote?
need to vote on the amendment, and then you need to vote on
Can I have
the
that back?
motion.
All in favor of the amendment?
aye.
Aye.
And then the original motion.
All in favor of the original motion? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Close that loop up there.
Okay, moving on to C. Review, discuss, and approve or deny request for charitable exemption on RSA 72:23-V for Mount Washington Valley Habitat Community.
So I have a recommendation after somebody makes a motion to discuss.
I'll make a motion to discuss.
I'll second that.
Okay. So I went back to Jason, we've talked about it. I reread I think I put the court case from Wolfboro in there. my recommendation is that we deny Habitat for Humanity the charitable exemption under 7223 for this year, but that we write a letter and send out with that stating that we denied it because while they own it, they are barely occupying it. Yes, they've assigned in a couple of trailers, but they're barely occupying it and they are not using it for their mission yet. But that you will reconsider their application next year, but you are asking in advance that they provide you with a map of what part of the property will meet the charitable exemption, because they're not gonna build 12 homes in 1 year, or 2 years, or 3 years. Generally, Habitat for Humanity builds 1 home a year. They fundraise for that and build one. So 12 homes could take 12 years, so they won't qualify for the whole property. And in addition to that, right now, the property, other than 1 acre where the little shed is and the little driveway, the rest of it's in current use anyway, which is a very minimal amount. As it comes out of current use, because they're building or they're putting in wells or septic or what, anytime they scrape the topsoil, that piece will have to be taken out of current use. And that's another thing, we're gonna need a map of that as well as they start to use the property for their mission statement. So,
And what's that? They have to pay the, was it
the land use change tax, yeah, nobody is exempt
Nobody,
from land
no.
use, not even towns are exempt from land use change tax. So, and it's 10% of the ad valorem value. So if a buildable lot in Albany is selling for $60,000, then the land use change tax for a lot will be $6,000.
right?
They might take 2 out at a time. They, I don't know what they get approved for. If this 12 lot subdivision is,
Have they gone to the zoning board?
no, they asked for more time because
Yeah,
their
so-
attorney wasn't available for the May meeting, so they may be coming to the June meeting. So it's not, that isn't even like,
Where are they going, to the planning board?
I don't know if they're going back to the planning board or they're going to the zoning board. I think the lawyer asked for a preliminary with the planning board to discuss it with them when we told them that we wouldn't give them the name of our town attorney. I think Sean said, come back here and have a conceptual, just tell us what you're thinking, because here's what we're thinking, And then they will either get it or they'll get referred to the ZBA for an appeal, or they'll come back with something, I don't know what, That's why I'm saying, they're barely occupying it and they're not utilizing it for their mission. And all 3 of those tests, you have to own, occupy, and use.
Oh, okay.
All 3 of them. And again, definitely own it, kind of occupy it, not utilizing it for your mission. That's my recommendation for you guys for this year.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna vote to approve it, because they haven't done anything with the land, but I like what,
What if they started
Kelly's
tomorrow doing something with the land?
Then they can
They
apply
missed the
it.
deadline.
They
It's
missed
how your
the
property
deadline.
exists on April 1st.
Okay.
Every property is assessed on the way it exists on April 1st.
Yeah.
So I would like to make a motion to amend your motion to discuss, to deny the request for charitable,
Or you can just vote no.
huh?
You can just vote no. You can all vote no on the open.
Well, I
Motion.
was gonna put in it that you'd be in touch with them per what you just described to us.
Okay.
Because his motion
So-
was just to discuss, it wasn't to approve or deny.
So the motion is to
To
Deny.
amend the original motion that he
deny,
made.
so we wanna deny it, we have to vote
Right.
yes to deny.
Yes.
All in favor of the denial?
Aye.
Aye.
And I would do just what you just described to us, because I think that's a real good.
I think we should set them up for success for next year.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because we're gonna be looking for more stuff than just an A9 and an A10 application. We're gonna wanna
Right.
know what their timeline is and what their
Right.
map is, and then, and I wanna put them on notice about the land use change tax, because they may not everybody's aware of that. If you haven't been on the board before, I don't want it to be a big surprise that there's going to be an additional fee for.
Hey, when I bought my property, I took 3.5 acres out of current use and took 3.5 acres that were out of current use and just swapped them, and I still had to pay the land use tax.
Yeah, I don't think most
Nobody
people-
gets away with anything.
I don't think most people understand that it's not a fluid 1 acre. It's, you know,
No,
you're supposed
no.
to provide a map, it gets filed at the registry, it creates a lien on the property.
Yep.
You know, there's a legal thing process behind it.
All right, moving on to D. Review, discuss, and vote on closing out the US DOT flap grant project for Conway Road.
Boy, that was a waste of time.
It was a waste of time and energy
And money,
and money.
$200,000 is sat around for 5 years.
You know, would be
Well, we
good
could have
use
took good
somewhere
use.
else. I want to make a motion to close out the flap grant.
I would second that.
Linda, do you know about that?
I read through this, so that's as much as I know.
And if I'm a selectman and the Forest Service comes for a permit for logging using that road, my vote will be absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's one thing we've accomplished with this whole thing.
Okay, and if they wanna know why, they can take us to court if they want.
There was a grant given to fix the end of the road, and it was just out of control.
Oh, they destroyed the road.
Yeah, and they just, the repair was gonna be outrageous. That it couldn't be done, they wanted to close the road.
And, you know, that, I read through the,
Where they said we
The
never told them that you couldn't close the road?
I told them that at least 6 times.
Yeah, that's the.
That's
disappointing-
BS.
That's the disappointing part about this, because the day that, when they were planning the geotech, when the boring crew came out here, they told us they needed to shut the road down for 3 days, and Rick went out there with the
I
boring crew
was out
and
there
told them
the
they
whole
could not
time they
shut-
were there.
So it's so disingenuous for them to put in writing that the town of Albany never told them they couldn't close the road, because all the plans that came back, they'd have to close the road for almost 3 months.
Right.
Yeah.
We told them they couldn't close it for 3 days,
Right.
and they didn't need to. They got the boring done in what, 6 hours?
Yeah.
It was
They're-
ridiculous.
They're making a big deal out of nothing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll notify them, because we got a deadline on May 15th for that.
E, review and discuss possible dates for the special town meeting to correct defects to the 2024 warrant.
What are your dates?
I don't, like I said, I just think we should pick some, my recommendation would be to do it after a selectmen's meeting on a Wednesday, because you're here anyway.
It's fine.
I agree with that.
I just pick a couple of Wednesdays, because the moderator has to be available, because he has to run the meeting. And the supervisor of the checklist will have to meet, I believe it's 10 or 15 days before, to give people a chance to update the checklist and re-register and stuff. So they have to have a session too, and so 2 out of 3 of them has to be available. So I thought if you guys just picked a couple Wednesdays and then,
Let's pick them.
so anything is better, anything would be fine except for June 12th, because we already are going to have the public, DOT is having a public hearing on project 29597 on July 12th,
And then
or June
2
12th.
after that.
And then I'm not there the next, let me look at that
So we don't have enough time to do June 20, or May 22nd. June 12th is already taken up. So the first date we could do it would be June 26th.
Which we can,
He's gone.
because Kelly.
Okay. Then we could do July 10th or July 24th.
now. Well, hold on. I'm gone the 29th through the 6th
Of May
So
or
I-
June?
of June into July.
Okay.
So I am here on the 26th if you want to do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Get it over with.
Yeah.
So June 26th
It won't be
or
as hot.
July 10th? Doesn't matter, we have
2
AC in the,
Either way, either way.
we have AC in the
Oh, really?
meeting room now. So June 26th or July 10th?
Sure.
Okay. I want to give them a couple of choices because, just in case, June 26th or 7/10. And you want to do like a 4:30 selectmen's meeting? and-
July 10th, you said?
Do a 4:30 selectmen's meeting and then a 5 o'clock town meeting, 5:30 town meeting, do you care?
Well, let's give an hour just in case we have,
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, and I don't know what type of setup we're gonna have to do for this.
Well, you don't
Three
need voting
chairs,
booths.
That's what I don't even know
And
if
a
we need the
table.
other room, but.
Maybe not. You definitely don't need voting booths because it's gonna be one question.
Yeah.
You're ratifying the vote of town meeting based on the fact that I posted the wrong date.
Yeah. And it's
And
that,
I did correct it before the
and
meeting.
that's all the
I
business.
just missed it by 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I know this is costing us money that we didn't,
don't worry about it.
I have never done this in 30 years and yay me.
All right, so that's good. Let's see.
I mean, we could schedule it for right in here.
Well, that's what I mean, unless
You know,
we
and
hear
if
otherwise.
a bunch of people come, we'll just move out
Yeah.
there and everybody grab a chair.
Yeah.
The meeting, how long is the meeting gonna last?
I mean, literally 15 minutes, if that's tops. I think.
10?
5 minutes. It just depends on
Who's
me.
gonna come, yeah.
Right.
I mean, the moderator has to be here and the supervisors have to have a checklist and they have to check anybody who
Yeah.
comes in.
And as long as it's known to the public, this is all we're doing.
Right.
They can't come
It's
in
all
and
we
talk
can
about
do.
anything else, they
Right.
can't talk about anything, so no one's
Yeah,
gonna.
it's all we can do.
Right.
So any other special town meeting requires a vote, it requires you to go to Superior Court to get permission and explain what your emergency is.
Right.
This is, they changed the law probably 10 years ago, so you
Yes.
didn't have to go to Superior Court for a typo.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a typographical error.
Right.
And rather than going to Superior Court to fix a typo,
Yep.
you can just fix a defect.
All right.
I'm defective.
Let's do it. Let's plan on using this room. If
I
too
will.
many people show up, we'll all move out there and grab a chair.
Simple. Yeah.
And if the moderator wants his podium in here, we'll bring it right in.
You can have it. It's not our
Ask him
meeting.
ahead of time if he wants his podium.
It's not our meeting anymore, we gotta
We can
get
put
staying
that,
on it.
we can put the podium right back here.
I'm only kidding, but,
Why not?
Yeah.
I don't think he needs a microphone though.
Gavel.
well, he can use mine here.
Review, discuss, and reconsider veterans tax credit.
So I brought you a veterans tax credit at the last meeting that was for a optional and a totally and permanently disabled. Because of the way the property was owned, it was owned by a trust and then by the wife as an undivided half interest to each of them. So I got recommendations, and Jason put this before the Department of Revenue Administration and his assessor's listserv. And we got the recommendation that because of the way it was owned, we should approve it with a 50% because of we prorate it to 50% because of the way it was owned. So since then, Jason has gotten some more information from DRA and some more information from his listserv because the gentleman has pushed back on the town. He wants to know why the selectmen only gave him half. I think he misunderstands that it wasn't a choice. I mean, I did put in the letter I sent to him that proration is part of the law, 72:30. But now a lot of assessors have said that some are saying you should give 100% of the optional tax credit and 50% of the service disabled. And if she fills out an application too, she can get the other 50%. I gotta tell you, if I were you, I would just give him the 100% because I think this whole fractional interest thing is very confusing and very complicated. The other thing, if you don't feel good about that, because the other taxpayers take the burden of that, then my recommendation would be to send all the recommendations we've gotten to the town attorney and let him decide. But it's going to be at $275 an hour. And at the end of the day, in 5 hours, you're gonna spend what the exemption, the tax credit would have been.
Go ahead, Rick.
I'll make a motion to rescind our original decision and award him the 100% due to the fact that he is a veteran and he's also got a veteran's disability as a veteran. And cut the nonsense
Yep.
and be done with it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Review, discuss, and complete application for town credit card through Bank of New Hampshire.
So Caitlin Quint has helped me with this, and even though the chairman has to give his social security and his date of birth, it does not go on your credit report. You are not responsible for it. The organization is responsible. So I'm happy with that. It must be they got pushback from other towns as well, since we did it 4 years ago, because and I debated about getting me a card and getting Sandy a card, because she uses it for elections, but you know what?
Keep it simple.
We only need one card, and we don't need cash advance access, you know. I think we keep the $1,000 credit limit. It's worked fine for us for the few things we do buy with a card. Sandy can use it to go to Shaw's and get the meat platter for elections. There's never been any pushback.
I would increase it to $1,500 only because costs are going up. And looking at their overdraft fees and whatnot, said to bump it up just a little bit, I think.
Would be something I'd recommend.
I can do that.
And is it under anybody's name in particular?
Yeah, it will come in Kelly's name, like the one we have right now says,
Right.
it says Town of Albany, Kathleen Golding.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I've used it over the phone for our Staples.
Oh, yeah.
order gets-
Well, that's mostly what we use it for. Do you need a motion on that?
I don't think so. Just,
as long as you guys are consent to it, I don't
we know what's going on.
think I need a motion. And Kelly's got to sign off on the application that was in there, so he
done.
signed off.
I did.
And I'm good.
Well, if we make a motion to do
And I'm
it,
not gonna
it protects him.
Well,
I mean, it's,
that's
Okay.
fine.
Right.
If you want
you
to do
know,
that.
that way it's official.
Yeah.
I'd make a motion to approve the application for a, what did you call it, credit card?
Bank of New Hampshire.
Bank of New Hampshire.
Yep.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 No, that just,
Aye, aye.
it
Oh, yeah.
protects you.
Okay. Town administrators report when you're ready.
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything, related
Okay.
to.
All right, let's move on to,
But can I get you guys to sign this for the 100%er that you just made the motion on for the veterans?
oh, yeah.
I need a new form.
You've already done it.
I took the liberty of filling it out, but I didn't have to sign it.
Here, right on this. Otherwise they'll think you're old.
I didn't know I am.
Well, try writing on a single page on these tables.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, old business. New Hampshire DOT Project 29597, Route 16. Review email from project manager Jason Ayotte. New Hampshire DOT we've approved the June 12th, 2024 as the date for the public hearing on project
So
29597.
you need a motion on that, or?
No, it's not even it's not our
Information.
public hearing,
Okay.
it's DOT's, and as soon as they get me some propaganda, I'll put it up on the website. They do cards and as soon as I get something from them.
So we got a couple meetings before that. We got the 22nd, the 29th. All right, so we gotta come up with a plan ahead of time to get the word out like last time.
Yeah, and he said in his last email that he might wanna meet with us the week before,
Yeah.
with you and me, and not the whole board, so we don't have to do a selectmen's meeting. And then if anything changes, he'll come, like, he came like 15 minutes early and briefed you guys at your meeting before you went out to the public hearing too.
Yes.
So I think that's,
No rumble strips.
No rumble strips.
yeah, I think it's, you guys should make that clear at this meeting. I'm not
Yeah.
sure it really, I think there was more discussion about, center turn lanes and breakdown,
Well,
kind of safety things.
those make sense.
But that rumble strip thing, that is part of the project, so I think people need to voice their opinion on that, especially the people that live on 16 that would try to be sleeping in the middle of the night, because the houses are pretty close to where the rumble
We
strips
could
are.
always find out where he lives and go protest in front of his house and make noise all night. Or get some of these college agitators.
I'm
to
good.
help us.
Can I just want to elaborate, since we're kind of talking about the project, something that came to my attention. Mark McConkey, Representative McConkey called me this morning, and he said that SB 471 failed.
Yeah, they tabled it, which is a death sentence.
He said that it was 10 to 10, and the chair breaks the tie, and the chair is not gonna break the tie, it's gonna die. That's what he tells me. Whether it's happened already, or if it,
Well, it went to the
No,
full
no,
house and it
no,
was
hold
tabled.
on.
It was 10-10 in the,
It was 10 to 10
10
at
in the
committee,
House.
which goes to the full house
Right.
with no recommendation. The full house voted, I think it was 190 to 165 to table it, which is a death sentence. They did that last Thursday, I think.
nothing's happened since, because he called me special this morning.
the only thing that can happen now is it can get trailered onto another, the senator that brought it can trailer it onto another Senate bill, but that's, with the way it went down in the House, that's not gonna happen. Because
I
they're
don't-
not gonna give up another Senate bill that might pass for this.
I don't think that's gonna help us anyway, so.
I don't-
Well, it was part of our fight. When I was speaking with him, I said, oh, and by the way, we had another 2 accidents in Albany over the last 2 to 3 weeks. When I left here at our last meeting, when I got home, there was a car in the ditch at my driveway, flipped over into it. And of course, I see the ambulances and everything in front of my driveway if I'm fearing for my family, so I speed down there. And I'm in the driveway, and now I guess there's someone in Albany on Facebook. I don't know if you guys get this.
I
but
don't do Facebook.
He has a scanner, and if anything happens in Albany, he immediately puts it on Facebook. He just lives on past Conway. But anyway, my wife gets a Facebook alert that there's an accident at 1799 Route 16, our address. She's in the house, thinking I lost it going home. She's running down the hill with the kids to see if I'm in the ditch. So I told Mark that today. Mark said, can you please send me what you just told me? I said, Mark, I'll send you that, and I'll send you a picture of the car flipped over the ditch. So a whole firestorm started today, and Mark got it, and he had immediately resent that to everybody at state level. And I guess it was quite a production today. I've been emailing with Nick from North Country Council. I emailed with Jason. They've all heard it. They've all gotten notified of it. But I just want to read you what Mark sent back, what sent to these people, because it's going to affect all of us. This is Mark McConkey, Representative McConkey sent, this went to a whole bunch of people. I am sure the members of your department have kept you in this recent conversation, as I have seen responses from Jason A., Nicholas A., and John C. I spoke with Selectman Robitel this morning to alert him that the legislation permitting a 45 mile per hour designation failed in the House. After that disappointment, he told me of yet another rollover in front of his home on Route 16. And his family rushed to the accident hoping it wasn't him in a ditch. Too many incidents are happening here. I feel that I should convene a meeting with you, Bill Lambert, Commissioner Quinn, and the county sheriff and the town selectmen to discuss the enforcement plan ahead of the department's future traffic calming project. So it looks, and I haven't talked to Mark since then, but it looks like, this is what I went home to. It looks like he's gonna put a meeting together with these people to,
Who else was it? It was
That's the end of my
DOT
driveway.
Commissioner Bill Lambert,
uh,
the Board of
Yep.
Selectmen.
Yeah, I've had two of them in front of my house.
well, you had, I'm sure this is just a partial list, but it was, Bill Lambert, Commissioner Quinn, the county sheriff, and the selectmen. So, that may be coming down the road.
Let us know when the meeting is.
Yes. And since then, I've gotten texts and emails from other people at the state level that have all been copied on these.
Chris McAleer called Monday or Tuesday too, to let us know the status and just how disappointed. And he also mentioned the guy that actually made the motion to table it, apparently gave out some misinformation. And he was kind of upset about
Yeah.
that he felt that it failed at the whole house because there was some misinformation. I guess something was said about, because I approached Lino Albany, he's my old rep over in Wakefield, and I know he knows a lot of people, he's been a rep, he's on the Carroll County Commissioner too, and I approached him about, hey, if you can vote for Senate Bill 471 and get some of your friends to vote for it, please do. And he was like, well, I looked into it and they didn't put any pricing information because, you know, to put new speed limit signs, you're supposed to, like, every bill is supposed to
It
come with
wasn't- The bill wasn't properly
written, right. So, for what it's worth,
Yeah.
it may have failed on a technicality, but it failed nonetheless.
Well,
And tabling it is failing.
the rumor I
It
heard,
fails it, and it can't be brought up in the next session either.
No,
next
but
year
it-
it can.
But it could be trailer, again, he said the only
Right.
way it can come back is if it's
Right.
trailered onto another
Well,
Senate bill.
Mark says it's not that it can't come back. But I also heard that the word was that it seems like it's only gonna benefit a couple towns, Albany being one of them.
Well, they
This is
had a debate too about that in, the thing that we asked about, the improved rural highway.
Unapproved.
Unimproved.
Unimproved.
Unimproved. So apparently, nobody was clear on the definition of unimproved, so they tried to remove the unimproved piece, which might have made it available to more towns to at least ask. And then they got in a whole debate about, you can't do this without DOT's approval, blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
Like,
there's
just-
quite an approval process, even the way the bill was
Right.
written.
Right.
What it did though, is it put us on the radar. We were brought up at that meeting, we've been talking about
Yeah.
the conversation.
Yeah.
The speed limit, I agree, it may help, it may not. Rumble strips, they say they help. I don't, but
Turning
what it's
lanes,
doing is, yeah,
turning lanes are gonna be a big
but what
improvement.
it's doing
And
is
shoulders.
it's getting people talking. And
Right.
that's,
Which should help future.
yes, because there's a lot of people and, you know, when elections come around, people all of a sudden perk up and take notice. So,
Only for a day.
only for a day. Okay, that was my thing on that.
All right. Keep us posted.
Yeah, there's a lot, you know, and I also wanted to bring up the fact that I'm out there talking to these people. I hope it's okay with the other selectmen that I do this. I am doing it.
It's your baby.
Well, I'm doing it in a selectman's capacity, and I'm not making decisions, but I'm giving information, so if there's a decision, it'll come back to the board.
It's your baby.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
Appreciate the efforts.
No problem.
Yeah, you two live on 16, so you have more firsthand knowledge than,
Yeah.
I mean, I drive it.
Well, I have all kinds of
I
knowledge.
turn
Jim
off it
works
every
on-
day.
Jim works on it, I mean, we all have a little bit of,
I don't know that these accidents are really tracked, like they say they track them.
No,
I don't know.
and
that-
they're years behind in their tracking.
Yeah, so-
If you look at any of their studies, they're 2 and 3 years old.
Yeah, they're just,
And the thing that irks me about it is the fact that Concord promotes tourism which is all up here,
Yeah,
okay, and they don't do anything to help us.
yeah. No,
It's not
You
just
know?
all up here. I mean, they promote tourism a lot of places and don't support. That's the disconnect in the state because we don't have the broad-based tax. So, you know, it's fee-based, everything's fee-based. Come to the seacoast, well, you know, you don't want to be the selectman in Hampton Beach either because they're on their own for the summer and it's very expensive. And
Yeah.
the state, there's money at the state level. Put your money where your mouth is in this town's highways. It's ridiculous.
other business, anything with the planning board, have you met?
They're not meeting until May 13th.
That's right.
That's their next meeting.
Why is the Conservation Commission on there?
I don't think we need to put.
Because they wanted a rep on they wanted one of the selectmen to serve as a rep on the Conservation Commission, and the board did not have anybody available. So their concession to that was that we would review their minutes as we get them, and so I put them on here so they feel like we're
Okay,
giving them their due.
okay.
And I just got some minutes from them, so they'll be on the next agenda to review.
Correspondence, letter.
Hold on, other business? I'd like to bring up this Ravel
Oh,
thing here, just briefly. I would like to request that we call in before us that engineer from the state who approved this without our approval at a future date in the next 2 or 3 meetings. And I think we ought to invite any of the people that were affected over on the Kankamankas into the meeting to put them face to face. As it turns out from Kelly's research, Albany never approved this event. According to their flyer that I got in the mail, they closed down Bear Notch Road, and I don't think the state nor this Ravel group has the authority to do that. That rests with us.
And I don't see how they can shut off people's driveways.
Oh, no.
That doesn't make
No,
sense
this
to me
needs
at
to
all.
be dealt with. I'll tell you, you know, I guess there's one person that's really upset about it. I'd be,
I'm upset that
yeah,
To take-
and this needs to be dealt with the state.
Well, it's not just that he was denied getting out of his driveway, because according to her, that wasn't supposed to happen. There was supposed to be a pilot vehicle that could take people out and bring them back. There was one lane that was always gonna be open emergency service. I think we have a perfect storm here of that particular piece of the Kank does not have cell service. So those 5 people were literally stuck in their homes, stuck in their houses with no way to get out and no way to call for help too. We're just lucky nothing happened.
Oh, no, that's a life safety issue.
Exactly, and
I
she
would like,
she says the District 3 engineer that approved this, after 2 years, she said this process took 2 years. She said that she was there and that never happened, that anybody could get out. But I think that she should hear Mr. Yates'
Yes.
explanation, because I believe him. He has no reason to lie that he
Right.
was stuck in his house for 4 hours.
Right.
I'd be livid
On
if
top of
it was
that,
me.
they've already said they want to run this again. This is a qualifier for the Boston Marathon. It's 4,000 runners, and they've already said they are going to petition to run it again, and it's going to become an annual thing. So that's fine. You will be asked to sign off on it, I'm sure, in the future. But even if you sign off on it, it's not acceptable for our residents to be. So this needs.
Well, no, there needs to be provisions made so this doesn't happen.
Right.
And if they can't run this race, okay, allowing people to get in and out of their houses.
Then they move.
These people pay taxes to Albany,
Right.
okay? And this is bullshit.
Yeah.
And I would like to see this lady before us, and I would like all the people that were affected by it invited to the meeting and face to face with the state person that authorized this without our authority.
Can you get one of those blocks?
I'm going to be out.
Put them in the head and then we can throw rocks at them. You're antagonizing a fight here, and I don't agree with it. I agree that they should be accountable, but
Yeah, they need to be
you're
held
inviting
accountable.
people in here to throw rocks, and I don't think it's a good.
Well, they should hear
I think they can hear it another way. I think
I
we
asked
can.
Well, our meetings are open to the public.
But
So I
as-
asked them to please look at, if you're that disgruntled by it, I think you should put it in writing. This
Yes.
gentleman has been in my office every day, twice on Monday, yelling at me.
Yeah.
I am to the point now, I try to be professional, I try to be courteous. I understand he was hot on Monday and hot on Monday when he came back and hot on I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
done. Because I did my due diligence. I called the District 3, so I found out all this information. Department of Safety runs, runners. Department of Transportation does runners. This is counterintuitive to me. Department of Safety does mopeds and motor vehicles for permitting, for closing roads down and running these races. So DOT District 3, Nancy Spalding is the engineer, she had to go through many, many things. Conway participated, had to sign off on it. So I asked if we signed it because they showed me the permit, and I've seen that permit before, and it is, I could not find in our file anywhere where we had done it, but she said it would have been in 21 or 22 because this has been going on for 2 years. So she went through her file and she never found where we signed off on it. So she said that she would come to Selectmen's meeting and apologize for this. But the more problematic piece for me is that when I said what happened to our residents, what his experience was, she said, no, that couldn't happen. I was there the whole day and there was provisions made, there was a pilot card.
Did he say how he was stopped from leaving?
He said his driveway was physically blocked.
Physically blocked?
Blocked, yes. And he had other complaints too. This is why I asked him to put it in writing, because it's not just one thing. There was loud music.
Right.
I kind of get the feeling, so he said that it was what's the county that borders us on the other side? Grafton County. It was a Grafton County sheriff that had the roads closed on that side. Well, he doesn't know what the detour issue is, and he finally, after 3 or 4 hours, got a state trooper to take him. So this gentleman has an elderly aunt, and he goes to see her every morning, every single morning, and he could not get out for hours. And finally, he found a state trooper that physically took him to his aunt's house. But that was 3 or 4 hours later, and yeah, not acceptable.
That's
Not acceptable. And he said there's 5 neighbors up there that all live there that don't have cell service, so for all intents and
Photographs of the closure to his driveway or anything?
No, but I'll tell you, he came in yesterday complaining again because he read the article in the Daily Sun that said it was perfect, it went off without a hitch. And I got an email because I reached out to Sheriff Rowe, and he said, I heard it was a huge mess. So I'm trying to get people to put stuff in writing so you have something to go by. If you decide not to sign the permit, you have a reason. This is what happened to our residents. We're not approving this.
Yeah.
You can still have it. We may not get a say.
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
I'm always about, if you're disgruntled, put your thoughts together and provide it to the powers that be, and then they have something to go on. Like, just coming in and yelling at me every
But put
day.
it in writing.
Coming in and yelling at me every day, like I sent you guys out an email so that, you had a heads up on it, but it doesn't have any power coming from me or you if we weren't the ones that were denied
Right.
the access to our property or the access from our property, so.
Well, if they want to have this event again, I think it would behoove them to come in and see us.
Do you want to invite one of the organizers from Rebel?
I think yes, but
If they want our permission in the future, but for this situation
For this
right
situation,
here, I'd like to see that engineer in front of us explaining.
Why they did it without our permission
Exactly.
and why.
And give
allow
the
this
people
situation.
that were affected the ability to come in here and ask questions or whatever. This is a public meeting.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, but I don't get a vote.
I'm not, I think it's,
Yeah,
we're
it's
looking
just
for,
gonna
we're
be,
looking for,
it's gonna get ugly, because
Yeah.
he's not, it's just a
No,
highly
I think
charged
it's on us to
situation
get
right
the
now.
explanation.
I think you should meet with the engineers and have a conversation about, you're never approving this.
yeah.
You'll provide them with any written information you get from you. You represent the residents.
That's what I'm.
You don't have to invite 739 residents to express your feelings about this, but I also think that you should have that documentation from the
Yes.
people that were affected before you meet with her. That would just be my thing,
Yep.
because there's something to hang your hat on. It's not just
I agree with you.
verbally.
1000%.
All the information we can get, and then we can deal with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I've asked Mr. Yetna 4 times.
Yeah.
They love their peace and quiet on that road.
I don't
And
blame
they're there because they love their peace and quiet, and I understand that that was taken from them, and it's not right, because it's beautiful up there where they live.
You know, I get the feeling that if it had run as good as she thinks it ran,
Yeah.
they might not have had an issue with it.
Right.
I think it didn't run the way she is describing, and maybe not even the way the organizers thought it would. So it may just be a disconnect, and it was a lot of runners, it was a long period of time. You need to do better, and here's
Right, and
how you
that-
can do better.
Well, that's where I'm at, and there was plenty of notice this was gonna happen. Everyone knew it was coming, everyone knew, stay away from there. Unfortunately, they lived there, they couldn't stay away. It should have been concessions to make sure that they were fine. And if they weren't, this is what we need to know, and that's what the information you're gonna have to come up with, so.
Do you want to wait to invite her in? She said she'd come. She would like to come in later in the summer. I don't know why. I don't know if she's got something going on, but whatever. I mean, I'll invite her now, or do you want to wait until you get some written?
We need some information first before we get her here, right?
Right.
We need some.
But I want it sooner than later.
Yeah, does she live in this area? I know that most of those people are from away from here.
I don't know.
I mean,
where
the
she is. I
organizers,
didn't-
they do this all over the country, they have.
I didn't ask, but I think after going through that, so I called her Monday right away after I talked to him, and I finally figured out who, because I was confused on DOT and DOS, and who has jurisdiction, and then finally somebody hooked me up with the District 3 engineer as the final. I feel like it goes through a lot of iterations before it gets approved, but at the end of the day, it hits her desk. And then she had a meeting that afternoon, so she said, but I want to go through the entire file tomorrow morning, because it has been going on for 2 years. They've been talking about how it's going to work. And so she went through the entire file Tuesday morning, and then called me around, I don't know, noontime on Tuesday to let me know, I am so sorry, it does not look like you did ever sign off on it. So, I mean, that's a administrative faux pas. So she wants to apologize for that, but I also think, like I said, the more important part is, if it worked the way they all think it worked, it might have been fine, but it did not.
Yeah, they did not.
And so our residents have a right to have that. But again, if it was me, for you or her, I would want it in writing. Reduce it to writing so I know tell me all the complaints, list them out, bullet point them, I'm good with that, but put it in writing so that becomes the part of the permit file for next year. So that the sheriff's department and the state police and Grafton County, whoever needs to know, knows that these 5 residents up here need some additional assistance. If you're gonna run it again, and I don't think you have the power to entirely stop it. I think you could move it or get a concession for the residents, and I think that's all the residents want is, this can't happen again. Like, they're freaking out that it's gonna happen the same thing every year.
Yeah.
I mean, if they made provisions to get fire safety and ambulances to and from.
Well, I think that's why
anything
Grafton
that was out
County,
there?
Grafton County was on that side, and I'm assuming Carroll County was on this side. But again, this isn't how it was supposed to work.
I
It was
drove it
supposed to have
after.
a pilot guy, and one lane was always supposed to be accessible.
Was one lane not accessible?
God, there were 4,000 runners. I don't know why they blocked his driveway. And he begged them, and nobody could help him, so.
Where did you get this 4,000 number?
She gave me the number. She said that
'Cause
there were between 3,500
before I
and
came to the
4,000
meeting, I
runners.
looked up this Revell thing, and they've got 2 classes. One is a long one that came across the Kank, and one was a short one in closer to Conway.
She said there
Okay,
were
and there were
between.
only 25 people entered in each class.
Oh, no. And even Mr. Yetton said there were thousands of runners. That's why it took 4 hours.
I drove it after, and when you get up to where the National Forest starts, there was a line of maybe 15 porta potties. And there must have been, I swear, 500, 600 empty water jugs amount, they were cleaning up. It wasn't that they were throwing, that's the amount of people that they had.
Right.
But they had 2 trucks with flashes on, big trucks with emergency flashes, and they were cleaning the road, and they were going into the woods and cleaning everything. Not just the trash that they provided, but they did a complete sweep, and I thought, well, you know, they're doing their diligence, they
Nice
wanna
for them,
be
yeah.
good. So I got the
Good
impression that they
stewards.
did have a clue. This makes me think otherwise, so I think we need to facts, we need to weigh the two, and maybe someone made a blunder, and they were supposed to be able to get out, and whoever was in charge of that thing, I don't know, so information's gonna be
If
important.
you come to the end of your driveway and there was blocks there,
Well, it's in blocks, or it's someone saying, wait, we got runners coming.
Right.
So, we need to see the whole
yeah,
story.
it'd be hard to imagine any one of us letting that.
There'd be
Yeah.
flat spots out there for my driveway.
Yeah.
So what am I doing again?
You're
Are
gonna,
you gonna meet with the District 3 engineer first? Am I waiting for it to get written
We need written stuff first, I think.
first,
Yeah.
then
from these people, they already said they're gonna be writing a letter,
Any
didn't they?
information they can get us.
he says he's working on it. I guess the rest of the residents don't really wanna rock the boat, but I think it's important that you tell us what your experience is.
Yeah.
We can't help you if you don't
Why
tell
don't
us.
you either write an email or a letter to them, or call them, whichever, okay?
It's one.
And let them know that the selectmen would like something in writing to help them deal with the state with regards
So we can
to,
ensure this doesn't happen again.
so that we can assure that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, that's the best we can do.
And we'll leave it to you. I don't know, whether you got emails for him or any of the other folks. If they wanna, if they
I'm sure he'll be
wanna,
back in on Monday.
well,
I'm sure I'll see him again.
if he comes in, call me. I live right up the road.
Okay.
I'll come down and I'll talk to him.
Oh, jeez. You're already ready to throw rocks.
I'm not throwing rocks at him.
Somebody's gotta get something.
And I'm gonna say,
Well, she shouldn't
Between
take
the two of
the,
you.
well, she shouldn't take the abuse.
No,
That
you're
some
right.
of these
Yeah,
people coming in.
People need to be held
The
accountable.
buck stops here at this
it's
table.
hard to listen to because I don't have the power to change this. I need, I'm begging him to put it in writing to you three because you three have the authority to fix this for him or make it better next year or,
This shouldn't have been permitted 2-3 years ago. This should have been in the same year. If we would have seen this permit come across, I was confused like you, I thought it was crank to kink. That's,
I did too when
I did
he
too.
first came in. I
so
gave
if I
him the
saw
permit.
something of this magnitude, we would have done a little
But
more.
he also had questions about why the US Forest Service gave him a permit to put up 30 porta potties when they don't normally open the campground till Memorial Day. So it's not open to anybody until Memorial Day. And now,
That's a different,
like, he had a lot of questions that I'm not even sure we can answer. And that's up to the US Forest Service. You need to take that up with them. But yeah, I mean, he's hot. He's hot right now and I would be too, but
if he,
writing so then they can help you.
if he comes in Monday, call me and I'll come down and talk to him.
Okay.
If you two
I
don't have a
don't
problem
mind
with
at
that.
Yeah, and we can have her in anytime because she was more than willing, very apologetic, went through the whole file, was appalled to find out that she did not have a sign off from us. I think big faux pas, big, huge. And she also told me that once we get written complaints, to send it to info@nh.gov.us because that goes to the commissioner for the next permit. Like there's a clearinghouse, send it to her, but
Well,
also put it in there.
Who does the final authorization of the permit?
The District 3, she is the District 3 engineer. And she was there all day. So she has some firsthand knowledge as well, but she missed this because she says she can't believe it happened, and I said it did, and he has no reason to lie. So, all right, I'll collect what I can.
Thank you. Letter
That's all I had.
from- Yeah, I think your last words was, I just got a little bit.
Well, you guys blew it all out of
We did,
proportion.
we did. We got hot. Letter from New Hampshire Department of Revenue Administration regarding 2023 ratio.
So the takeaway from this is our ratio is 62 and 63, I think, median and mean.
Until we do a revalue.
Yes, but this, I mean, this came up,
Down.
this came up a little bit at town meeting about what's going, you know, are we gonna be like Conway? No, we're not gonna be like Conway because we don't have as wide a stratification, meaning, you know, the difference between commercial and industrial and land only and residential is much tighter here, but at 63.4% for median and 62.6% for our overall weighted mean, you can pretty much imagine that your properties are going to go up by almost 40% next year.
Good.
So the good thing about that is, as long as all other things being equal, your budget less your revenue against your assessed value, so when you increase the assessed value, the tax rate will go down, but the overall tax bill, all things being equal, should stay about the same.
Should stay flat.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
And the only reason Conway's did is because of that percentage differences?
because of that stratification. So, what happened in Conway was, according to the assessment, this is not my
Right.
opinion,
Yeah.
but according to the assessment, places like Walmart and Shaw's had been paying too much.
Right.
So they might have been at like 40%, whereas residential was at 60%. So when you fix that, theirs still went up, but it didn't go up as much as the residential had to come up to get everybody back to 100%.
Right.
And so it's really hard when an organization like Walmart or Shaw's goes down or not up as much as you, and your house, and then
Yep.
your tax bill goes up $400. Like, that's the piece. And there's no saying that that couldn't happen here if this comes, because the town tax rate doesn't affect it as much as the school. I mean, if the school had a huge budget increase, then we could be looking at the perfect storm of, oh my God, the budget's up way, and then our
Well,
tax
hopefully
rate.
they'll close the school.
I think they have to with the default budget. But just so you know, I mean, our ratios,
Good ratio.
it's time for a revale.
And
For sure.
we have an election November 5th that might change everything in the world, so.
Going to either way.
I don't think it's gonna change the assessed
Not
value.
going to change, it's going, no matter what, it's going to change.
Going to change.
Letter from Charter Communications regarding upcoming charges.
Great. Next.
Annual letter. Review and discuss emails from residents, and we did that. Oh, we didn't? No,
Yeah,
that was
make sure
Ferncroft
Curtis
Road.
Gets a copy of that.
Yeah.
Make sure who?
That was
Curtis
Curtis.
gets a copy of that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I sent it to Curtis, but I
You
might.
said you did.
I would just make sure, I mean, a lot of good people, I've
I
dealt with them
think
a lot
I
in the
sent it to
past.
Curtis and said, boy, you never get these.
Yeah.
Like, I
Well,
can't.
you know, I mean,
Nobody
it's-
gets those.
Everybody wants to complain, nobody wants to say thank
You know,
you.
they were all-
It was a nice letter, I
They
appreciate
were
it.
all happy up there when they got the first fiber optic for their internet and whatnot. So, yeah,
They're happy up there anyway.
and they pay a lot of taxes.
They're away from here, and so they're happy.
Hey, we used to go up and meet up there once a year, up in the church up there.
No non-public session, and our next meeting will be Wednesday, May 22nd.
Move to adjourn.
4:30.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Jeez, oh man, don't even let him get-
Blobbly, blobbly,